Hello, my name's Sharla and welcome to my craft room. Welcome to week 5 of the Knitalong challenge. Before we get started, I'm just going to do a quick recap of the squares we've done so far. In week 1 we did garter stitch and moss stitch. In week 2 we did ridged bricks. Week 3 was the rippled chevrons, and week 4 was the garter stitch stripe, and this week's square is called Little Shell. So Little Shell is our challenge for this week. It's a really lovely ribbed pattern and I hope you'll enjoy making it. So for this square we start by casting on 47 stitches. As you can see from the pattern, it's only 4 rows in the pattern, but it is a bit more complicated than we've done before, and my first recommendation would be that at the end of each row you count how many stitches you have, because it will be different. And as you can see on the pattern, I've written at the end of each row how many stitches you should have at the end of each row. So for the first row we start off purling 2, and then you see the asterisk there says knit 3, purl 2, and so you knit 3, purl 2 and repeat that until the end of the row. So there we go, that's row 1 completed. You should have 47 stitches still at the end of this row. Row 2, it's the opposite really of row 1, so you're going to start knitting 2, then you've got the asterisk and you've got purl 3, knit 2 to the end. So we can purl 3, knit 2 and continue to the end of the row. So we have our 2 rows done. Row 3, this is where you need to concentrate on what you're doing a little bit more, and remember to count your stitches at the end of the row. So first of all we do purl 2 stitches, 1, 2. The next one is SL1, which is a slip stitch, and all that means is that you slip the next stitch on your left needle onto your right needle. You don't have to do anything with it, you just slip it on. And the next stitch is knit 2 together, so we need to move our yarn back round our needle and knit the next 2 stitches together. Now the best way to explain this is that instead of putting your right needle in to the first stitch as you would for knitting that one, you do that, you go to the second stitch and you go through both loops, if you can see, and then yarn around the needle, pull it through, so you've made 2 stitches into one. The next instruction is PSSO, and that stands for pass slipped stitch over. So this is the slip stitch. So you grab hold of that with your left needle and you pull it over the last stitch. So it's a bit like when you're casting off. Okay. And the next stitch is purl 2. So we put our yarn back around the needle. We purl 2 stitches. And as you can see, we repeat that from the asterisk to the end. So I'll just show you again. We slip the stitch, yarn around the needle, knit 2 stitches together, pass the slip stitch over, and then purl 2. And you continue doing that until the end of the row. So I've finished row 3, and don't be alarmed, there should be 29 stitches on your needle. So row 4 is knit 2. So after knit 2, you'll see there's the asterisk and a bracket, and in the bracket it says purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and you do that into the next stitch. So we purl 1, and instead of taking the yarn, the stitch straight off the needle, we have to put the yarn back around and knit into the back of the stitch, and again leave it on the needle, yarn back round and purl into the front of the stitch. Okay, so you've effectively done 1, 2, 3 stitches into one stitch and off the needle, and then you do knit 2. So I'll show you again. So you knit 1, sorry, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and then knit 2, and you continue that until the end of the row. So there we go, that's our 4 rows completed, and you'll be pleased to know that when you count at the end of row 4, you'll be back to 47 stitches. So that's it, that's the pattern. All you've got to do now is repeat those 4 rows until you make a square. So there we have our little shell square all ready and completed. I'll hold it up just a little bit closer, you can see the lovely shapes there. It is a rib pattern, so it will stretch. You may think it looks a bit narrower than some of your other squares, but actually once you've stretched it and we sew it together, it'll be fine. So I'm going to cast off now in the pattern of row 1, and that's our next square done. So there we go, another square finished. I hope you've enjoyed making it. Thank you for watching this video for Louisburgh Community TV. And don't forget, if you liked it, please like it, subscribe and share. The patterns for all of our squares are on my Facebook page, Handmade by Sharla. See you next time.